She was buried in the snow. No one could find her, but one dog never gave up. 1 second they were laughing. The next, the mountain exploded, a wall of snow. No warning, no escape. Hours of silence. Then Bruno's bark cuts through the storm. He's digging, frantic, desperate. There, buried in snow, Nora. She sees him and breaks, throws her arms around Bruno, sobbing. "You found me." A hero with fur and a wagging tail. Nora's safe, but Matthew, still missing. Teams dig through snow. Helicopter overhead, searchlights, chaos. Where is he? 24 hours before everything changed. The Peterson family on a winding mountain road. No idea what was coming. Nora pressed her face to the window, watching snow-covered peaks slide past. Bruno dozed beside her, golden head heavy on her lap, warm through her jeans. Matthew took the icy curves, slow and careful. Amanda was talking about the cabin, how cozy it would be. The fireplace, the hot chocolate, all of it. They were excited. Together. Happy. Didn't know that by this time tomorrow. One of them would be fighting for their life. Cabin was everything they'd hoped for. Nestled in the forest, pines towering on all sides, snow thick on every branch. Nora didn't wait. Door open, gone. Bruno racing ahead of her, both of them disappearing into the white yard before Matthew had even cut the engine. "Slow down, kiddo." He was laughing as he said it. Amanda stood by the car a moment, just breathed. Pine and winter and cold, clean air. Perfect. Inside, fire already crackling in the stone fireplace. Someone had set it before they arrived. The place felt alive, warm. They unpacked, played cards, made plans for tomorrow. First, ski lesson, all of it mapped out over hot chocolate and bad hands of Go Fish. Nobody checked the weather. Nobody saw the forecast. The one scrolling quietly across some ignored TV channel somewhere, warning of an incoming storm. Nobody noticed. Day one was magic. The sun was shining, the snow perfect. Matthew showed Nora how to lean into her turns, how to trust her edges. At first, she wobbled, arms flailing, skis crossing. But then something clicked. She found her rhythm. Gliding down the slope, wind in her face, mountains towering all around her. "I'm doing it," she shouted, pure joy in her voice. Matthew grinned, skiing beside her. Amanda filmed from the side, tears in her eyes. Perfect. Absolutely perfect. None of them could have imagined what tomorrow would bring. That night, they gathered around the table. A warm, home-cooked meal. Roasted chicken, potatoes, fresh bread. Bruno dozed by the crackling fire, his fur glowing orange in the firelight. They talked about the day, about tomorrow's plans. Matthew promised to teach Nora a new technique. Amanda laughed at one of his terrible skiing jokes. Everything felt warm, safe, perfect. Outside, the wind picked up. Snow began falling harder. But they didn't notice. They didn't hear the mountain settling. They had no idea what was coming. The next morning started perfectly. Blue skies, fresh powder. They took the lift up together, excited for another day on the slopes. But halfway down a run, Amanda's ski caught an edge, ice. Her leg twisted violently beneath her. The snap of pain was instant. She hit the ground hard, gasping. "Mom!" Nora screamed, skiing over in a panic. Matthew was already there, carefully removing her ski. Her ankle was swelling fast, turning dark purple. Ski patrol arrived within minutes. "You need to stay off this completely," they said. Amanda nodded, biting back tears. She didn't want to ruin the trip. The ski patrol worked quickly, wrapping Amanda's ankle with practiced efficiency. Ice pack, compression bandage, pain medication. "It's a bad sprain, maybe worse," the medic explained. "You need to keep weight off it completely. Head back to your cabin, and rest. Matthew helped her to her feet. She couldn't put any pressure on it. Nora stood quietly, watching, her excitement from the morning completely gone. "I'm okay, sweetie," Amanda assured her, forcing a smile. But inside, she felt guilty. Their perfect vacation was falling apart. And she had no idea it was about to get so much worse. Back at the cabin, Amanda on the couch, ankle propped up, ice pack melting through the dish towel. She stared out the window. Snow still falling, steady. Felt useless just sitting there. Matthew was trying to keep things light. She could see him trying. But the disappointment was there too, underneath. Hard to hide. Nora sat by the fire with Bruno. Quiet, unusually quiet. "You two should still go out tomorrow," Amanda said finally. Matthew hesitated. "You sure?" "I'll be fine. Don't let me ruin your fun." He didn't argue. Probably should have. That night the wind picked up. Really picked up. Howling through the pines, rattling the windows. Amanda lay awake listening to it. Something felt wrong. Couldn't name it. Just a feeling sitting heavy in her chest. The kind that doesn't leave when you close your eyes. She stared at the ceiling. Thought about Matthew and Nora heading out tomorrow without her. Thought about the storm. And somewhere in the dark, a terrible thought surfaced. Quiet, unbidden, staying behind. Maybe it had just saved her life. That evening, Matthew tried to lift her spirits. They curled up on the couch together, one of Nora's favorite books open between them. Bruno at their feet, sprawled out, snoring softly. The fire going. Amanda watched them from across the room. Ankle throbbing, heart full anyway. This was what mattered. Not the skiing, not the plans. This. "Dad? Yeah, kiddo? Can we still go tomorrow? Just us?" Matthew glanced over at Amanda. She nodded. "Go, it's fine. Go." "Absolutely." He pulled her closer. "Our own adventure." Nora smiled and nestled into his side. Turned the page. Outside, the snow fell heavier. The mountain, quiet, patient, grew restless in the dark. But inside, they felt safe. Warm. Together. Tomorrow would be different. Tomorrow would change everything. Morning came bright and cold. Matthew was already geared up, checking their equipment. "You ready for this, kiddo?" Nora practically bounced with excitement, pulling on her ski boots. "I was born ready, Dad." He laughed, helping her zip up her red hoodie. Bruno circled around them, tail wagging, sensing their energy. The plan was simple. A few runs on the intermediate slopes, then back for lunch. Easy, fun, safe. Matthew double-checked their gear one last time. Skis, poles, goggles. Everything perfect. He had no idea that in less than an hour, he'd be fighting for their lives. Amanda stood in the doorway, watching them head down the path toward the slopes. Her ankle throbbed, but that wasn't what hurt. It was the knot in her stomach, the feeling she couldn't shake. "Be careful," she called out one more time. Matthew turned, grinning, gave her a thumbs up. Nora waved enthusiastically, her red hoodie bright against the snow. "We will, Mom. Love you." And then they disappeared around the bend, swallowed by the trees. Amanda stood there longer than she meant to, Bruno whining softly at her feet. The wind picked up. The sky, so clear moments ago, seemed darker now. She closed the door and waited. First hour was perfect. Matthew took her down the intermediate runs, coaching each turn. Nora was getting better, more confident, more controlled. They raced each other, laughing, cold air biting their faces. Up here, the world felt limitless, pure. "One more run, Dad?" He checked his watch. Time enough. You got it. But let's go higher. Ready for a challenge? Nora's eyes lit up. Always. Lift to the advanced slopes. Higher than they'd been. The view up there, mountains in every direction, snow glittering under the sun. Matthew pointed out landmarks, told her about skiing here as a kid. She listened, grinning. They pushed off. Smooth, controlled. Perfect. Then the mountain spoke. Low rumble first. Deep, felt more than heard. Like something shifting in the earth's chest. Matthew's head snapped up. Heart stopped. Nora, stop. She looked back. What? He wasn't looking at her. Eyes up the slope. And what he saw turned his blood cold. A crack. Massive. Running across the snowpack above them like a fault line splitting open. And then, movement. Nora, ski, now. She didn't understand, but she heard his voice, the terror in it, and she went. Both of them pushing off hard, carving down the slope as fast as their legs could drive them. Behind them, the mountain roared. Avalanche. A wall of white exploding downward like a freight train, swallowing everything. Trees snapped. The sound was enormous, deafening, physical, a thing you felt in your teeth. Nora glanced back and screamed. Don't look back! Ski! His voice barely made it over the roar. They carved and pushed and cut desperate lines down the slope. But it was too fast, too big, no outrunning it. The snow cloud hit them. World turned white. Silence. Just like that. The roar, gone. The mountain settled and went quiet, the way things do after something terrible. Suffocating quiet, the kind that presses in. Snow blanketed the slope. Fresh, pristine, undisturbed. As if nothing had happened. But beneath that smooth white surface, two people. Invisible. Silent. Time passed. Sun began dropping behind the peaks. Shadows stretched long across the snow. Sky shifted, orange, then pink, then deep purple. Temperature dropped fast, the way it does up here. No warning. Where they'd been skiing an hour ago, nothing. Just snow. Endless white. No red hoodie. No movement. No sound. Just wind picking up again, whistling soft through broken trees. Down at the resort, someone noticed. Two skiers. Father and daughter. Last seen heading to the advanced slopes. Radio chatter started. Ski patrol asking questions. Anyone see them? When? Where? Avalanche had been reported, but the mountain was massive. Debris field enormous. Could be anywhere. Back at the cabin, Amanda checked her phone. Again. 10th time, maybe more. No messages, no calls. She tried Matthew, straight to voicemail. Told herself not to panic. They lost track of time. They'd come through the door laughing, hungry, covered in snow. Any minute. But she knew. Somewhere underneath the telling herself, she knew. She limped to the window, leaning on her crutch. Outside, the light was almost gone. Mountains swallowing the last of the sun. Bruno whined at her feet, restless, pacing. They're fine, she whispered. To him, to herself. They have to be fine. Mountain didn't answer. Somewhere beneath tons of snow, Matthew lay motionless. Conscious, barely. Each breath a struggle, chest compressed, body going numb, fading at the edges. And Nora, small, 10 years old, buried somewhere else entirely, deeper, colder, running out of time. Darkness came fast. It always does in the mountains. And the clock was ticking. 5:47 p.m. Amanda stared at the clock. They should have been back hours ago. Matthew said lunch. It was almost dinner. She picked up her phone. Nothing. No calls, no texts. Tried his number again. Rang, voicemail. Matthew, it's me again. Please call me back. Her voice cracked. I'm getting worried. Bruno whined at her feet. He'd been pacing all afternoon, door, then her, then door again. Dogs knew. They always knew. She limped to the window. Outside, full dark. Snow falling harder now, wind rattling the glass. She pressed her hand against it, cold seeping into her palm, and stared out into nothing. Where were they? She tried. Told herself, lodge maybe. Hot chocolate. Matthew's phone dead. Lost track of time, on their way back right now, laughing about how worried she'd been. But her gut knew. Had known for a while. The phone rang. She lunged for it, nearly dropped the crutch. Matthew. Mrs. Peterson? Unfamiliar voice. Official. Calm in that specific, careful way that meant bad news. This is Ski Patrol. We're calling about your husband and daughter. Reported missing this afternoon. There was an avalanche on the north slope around 2 p.m. We've launched a search operation, but the rest became noise. Avalanche. Missing. Search operation. Are they... Couldn't finish it. We don't know yet, ma'am. Stay by the phone. We're doing everything we can. Lean went dead. Amanda stood there. Phone still against her ear. Room tilting. Her ankle gave, and she went down onto the couch. Just collapsed. No catching herself. Bruno was up beside her instantly, nose against her hand. Avalanche. Missing. Matthew, her baby girl. Buried somewhere out there in the dark, in the cold, under all that snow. Couldn't breathe, couldn't think. Walls closing in, the whole cabin shrinking around her. Then something snapped. No. No, she wasn't sitting here. Couldn't. They needed her. Out there somewhere, they needed her. Amanda grabbed her coat. Amanda threw on her coat. Left the crutch. Grabbed a flashlight and stepped outside. Cold hit her like a slap. Wind tearing at her coat. Snow stinging her face. Her ankle screamed the moment she put weight on it. She kept walking. Pain didn't matter. Nothing mattered. Come on, Bruno. He was already at the door, whining, ready, nose up. Matthew, Nora. Wind swallowed her voice whole. Nothing came back. Just the howl and the soft, relentless hiss of falling snow. How long had they been out there? 4 hours? 5? She knew what that meant. Knew what everyone knew about cold, about snow, about time running out. No. Don't. Bruno pushed ahead, nose dropping to the ground. Not trained for this. Didn't matter. He knew Nora. Loved her. If anyone could find her. Amanda limped after him. Every step agony. Ankle swelling inside the boot. She could feel it tightening, throbbing. Left foot. Right foot. Again. Again. Flashlight cut through the dark and found nothing. Trees, snow, more trees, more snow. Mountain enormous around her, indifferent, swallowing the beam. She checked her phone. No signal, of course. Nora! Raw now, her throat. Matthew! Wind answered with a howl that sounded almost mocking. They pushed deeper. Minutes stretched. Amanda's body was shutting down piece by piece, cold seeping through her coat, exhaustion pulling at her legs, the ankle past screaming now, just a steady white blaze of pain. Couldn't stop. Wouldn't. Bruno moved through the snow, golden fur white with it, breath coming in quick puffs. Every few steps he'd pause, nose up, testing the air, then push on. Always forward, always searching. Please, boy. Barely a whisper. Please find her. Dark pressed in on all sides. Cold, endless, and somewhere beneath the snow. Nora was running out of time. And then Bruno stopped. His whole body went rigid. His ears shot up. He caught something on the wind, something familiar. Bruno started digging, frantically, his paws throwing snow everywhere. Amanda fell to her knees beside him, Her flashlight caught it, a tiny corner of red fabric. Nora's hoodie. "Nora!" Amanda screamed, digging with her bare hands. "Nora, can you hear me?" Bruno barked urgently, digging faster. And then, there, a face, pale, blue lips, eyes closed. "No, no, no." Amanda cleared snow from her daughter's face. "Nora, wake up! Wake up!" She pressed her ear to Nora's chest. There, a faint heartbeat. "She's alive! Bruno, she's alive!" Amanda pulled Nora free from the snow. The girl was limp, freezing, unresponsive. "Nora, honey, it's Mom. Open your eyes." Bruno pressed against them, licking Nora's face. Then, movement. Nora's eyelids fluttered. "Mom? I'm here, baby. I'm here." Amanda sobbed, holding her tight. Nora's eyes found Bruno. Bruno, you found me." Bruno's tail wagged, licking her face again. Amanda wrapped her coat around Nora. "Can you stand?" With help, Nora got to her feet, swaying. But then she stopped, eyes wide. "Dad? Where's Dad?" Amanda's heart sank. Matthew was still out there, still buried. "We'll find him, honey. But I need to get you safe first." "No." Nora's voice was weak, but firm. "We can't leave him. He could be right here." Amanda looked at her daughter, freezing, barely standing. Then at the darkness. They could search for hours, but Nora was right. Amanda made a decision. "Bruno, find Matthew. Find him, boy." Bruno barked once and took off into the darkness. Amanda and Nora, holding each other up, followed. Few minutes passed. Maybe 5, maybe 10. Hard to tell. Nora sat in the snow, Amanda's coat around her shoulders, body slowly warming. Color coming back to her face, breathing steadier. She looked at Bruno, really looked at him. He sat beside her, covered in snow, panting hard from all that digging, eyes never leaving her face, watching, making sure. Something broke open in her chest. All of it. The fear, the cold, the dark, the suffocating weight of snow pressing down. All of it came flooding out at once. She threw her arms around his neck and buried her face in his fur. "You saved me." Voice cracking. "You found me, Bruno. You saved my life." His tail wagged slow. He licked her face, gentle now. Different from before, not frantic, just comforting. Nora held him tighter, sobbing into the gold of his fur. Good boy, such a good boy. Amanda stood watching them, tears running down her face, not bothering to wipe them. Her daughter, alive. Bruno had found her, dug her out with his bare paws in the dark. Hero with 4 legs and a wagging tail. "I love you, Bruno," Nora whispered, pulling back to look at him. "I love you so much." He barked once, soft, tail going faster. For a moment, just a moment, everything was okay. Then reality came back hard. Matthew, still out there, still buried, still running out of time. Nora pulled away, face changing. "We have to find Dad, now." "Honey, you need to rest." "No." Firm, steady. "He's out there, Mom, alone, cold. We can't leave him." Amanda looked at her daughter, 10 years old, just pulled from the snow, hypothermic, exhausted, and saw something she hadn't seen before. Steel. "Okay," she said. "Okay. Let's find him." She turned to Bruno, already on his feet, alert, ready, ears up. "Bruno, Matthew's sweater, it's back at the cabin. We need you to..." His head snapped left, ears forward, body rigid. He'd caught something. He took off running before Amanda could finish the sentence. "Bruno, wait." Gone. Disappeared into the dark. Amanda and Nora looked at each other and ran. The sound came first, a distant thump, thump, thump cutting through the wind, growing louder. Nora looked up, squinting through the falling snow. "What is that?" Amanda's heart leaped, Helicopter. A powerful beam of light suddenly pierced the darkness, sweeping across the mountain. The rescue helicopter descended, its searchlight turning night into day, illuminating the massive avalanche debris field. And then more lights, red and blue flashing through the trees, sirens wailing. "They're here," Amanda breathed. "The rescue teams are here." Within minutes, the mountain transformed into organized chaos. Emergency vehicles everywhere, ambulances, rescue trucks, search units. Dozens of rescuers in bright orange and yellow jackets spread across the snow, carrying equipment, probes, shovels, coordinating over radios. "Matthew Peterson, can you hear us?" The calls echoed across the mountain. Teams worked in coordinated lines, probing the snow systematically, listening for any response. Nothing. A paramedic reached Amanda and Nora. "You're the Peterson family?" Amanda nodded, holding Nora close. "Yes, she was buried. My husband, Matthew, he's still out there." The paramedic radioed it in immediately. One survivor recovered, possible hypothermia. Father still missing. Repeat, father still missing. More teams mobilized. Search dogs deployed. Thermal imaging brought in. The operation kicked into overdrive. They wrapped Nora in thermal blankets. "We need to get her to the hospital." "No," Nora struggled. "Not without Dad." The paramedic looked at Amanda, who nodded desperately. "Please, just a little longer." The woman sighed. "All right. But if her vitals drop, she goes. No arguments." The helicopter's searchlight swept methodically. Rescue teams dug frantically, calling out, probing every suspicious mound of snow. Time was the enemy now. Every minute reduced Matthew's chances. After 2 hours buried, survival rates dropped dramatically. How long had it been? 3 hours? 4? Amanda watched helplessly. All these professionals, all this equipment, and still nothing. Bruno stayed close to Nora, his body tense, alert. Then suddenly, his head jerked. He'd caught something, a scent. Faint, but there. He barked, sharp, urgent. Everyone stopped, looked. Bruno barked again and bolted toward an untouched section of debris. "The dog's got something," someone shouted, and everyone ran. Bruno stopped at a large mound of snow. He circled it once, twice, sniffing frantically, then started digging. But the snow was packed hard, dense. He'd need help. The rescue team rushed over with shovels and probes. "Easy, boy," one of them said. "Let us work." But Bruno wouldn't stop. He barked, dug, barked again, insistent. "He's definitely got something," the team leader said. "Could be equipment, could be a person. Let's dig." They started carefully removing snow, layer by layer. Trained professionals working fast but methodically. One wrong move could cause a secondary collapse. Minutes passed. Nothing. "Are we sure the dog's got the right spot?" Amanda's heart sank. Maybe Bruno was wrong. Maybe it was just... "Wait." Nora's voice cut through the noise, small but determined. "Wait." Everyone turned. She was struggling to stand, pushing away the thermal blankets. "I have an idea." "Honey, you need to rest." "No. Listen." Nora looked at the rescue team leader. "Do you have my dad's jacket? Or anything of his?" The man shook his head. "We don't have any of his belongings." Nora thought fast. "The cabin. Mom, Dad left clothes at the cabin, his gray sweater, the one he wore yesterday." Amanda's eyes widened. "The one on the couch?" "Yes." "How far is the cabin?" the team leader asked. 10 minutes by snowmobile," Amanda said. "But my ankle, I'll go." One of the rescuers immediately volunteered. "Tell me exactly where." Amanda gave rapid directions. The man took off on a snowmobile, disappearing into the darkness. They waited. 7 agonizing minutes. Then, headlights. The snowmobile returned. The rescuer jumped off, holding a gray sweater. "Got it!" Amanda took it, then knelt beside Bruno. The dog was panting, exhausted from digging, but his eyes were still alert. "Bruno," she said softly. "This is Matthews. Can you find him? Can you find Matthew?" She held the sweater to his nose. Bruno sniffed once, twice. His whole body tensed, and then he barked. Loud, urgent, certain. He knew that scent. But wait. Nora stopped him. "Mom, let me." Amanda handed her the sweater. Nora knelt in the snow, face to face with Bruno, holding her father's sweater between them. "Bruno," she whispered, her voice cracking. "This is Dad. You remember Dad, right? He's the one who feeds you, who plays fetch with you, who scratches that spot behind your ears you love." Bruno's tail wagged slowly. "He's out here somewhere, under all this snow. And he needs us. He needs you." Tears streamed down her face. "Please, Bruno, please find my dad." She pressed the sweater to his nose. Bruno inhaled deeply. His eyes locked with Nora's for one long moment. Then he turned and bolted across the snow, not where he'd been digging before, but 20 feet to the left. He stopped at a different mound, barked, dug, barked louder, more frantically. The rescue team rushed over. "Here!" Bruno's barking was deafening now. "Here! Here! Here!" "All right, everyone move. This is it." Shovels hit snow. Fast, urgent. 1 foot down, 2 feet, 3. And then, "I've got something. Hand. I've got a hand. I've got a hand." The rescue team exploded into action. Shovels moved faster, carefully but urgently removing snow around the hand. "Easy. Don't disturb the airway if there is one." More snow cleared. An arm, a shoulder, gray jacket. Matthew. "We've got him! We've got him!" Nora screamed. "Dad!" Amanda held her back. "Let them work, baby. Let them work." The team dug frantically but precisely. Years of training guiding every move. They couldn't risk a collapse. Couldn't risk injuring him further. "Is he breathing?" Someone called. "Unknown. Keep digging." More snow. His chest. His head. Matthew's face emerged. Pale, blue-tinged, covered in frost. "He's not responsive. Get the medic." They cleared the snow from around his face. One rescuer tilted his head back, checking his airway. "Airway's clear. Checking pulse." Everyone held their breath. The medic's fingers pressed against Matthew's neck. 1 second, 2, 3. "I've got a pulse. Weak but there. He's alive." Cheers erupted. Nora sobbed. Amanda collapsed to her knees. They worked fast now. Oxygen mask on his face, thermal blankets, checking for injuries. His legs were still buried, but they needed to stabilize him first. "Matthew, can you hear me? Matthew?" Nothing. He was unconscious. Maybe hypothermic. Maybe worse. They cleared more snow. His hips, his legs. Carefully, so carefully, they lifted him onto a rescue stretcher. Possible hypothermia. Possible internal injuries. Unresponsive but breathing. Get him to the helicopter now. The team lifted the stretcher and started moving. Fast but controlled. "Dad!" Nora broke free from Amanda's grip and ran. "Nora, wait!" But she was already there, running alongside the stretcher, grabbing her father's gloved hand. "Dad, it's me. It's Nora. You're okay. You're going to be okay." Matthew's eyes flickered, just barely. His fingers twitched in hers. "He squeezed my hand. Mom, he squeezed my hand." Amanda caught up, limping fast on her bad ankle. She took Matthew's other hand. "We're here, honey. We're all here. Just hold on." They reached the helicopter. The rotors were already spinning. Medics secured the stretcher inside. Family can ride with us, the flight medic said. Let's go. Amanda and Nora climbed in. Bruno tried to follow, but a rescuer held him back. No, wait. Nora turned. Bruno has to come. He saved us. He found us. The medic looked at the team leader, who nodded. Let the dog on. Bruno jumped in, settling at Nora's feet. The helicopter lifted off, snow swirling, lights falling away below. Inside, Matthew lay still. Medics worked over him, IVs, monitors, warming blankets. Nora held his hand, refusing to let go. You're going to be fine, Dad. Bruno found you. He saved you. At the sound of his name, Bruno's tail wagged once. And somewhere deep under the oxygen mask, Matthew's lips moved, just barely. A whisper, almost inaudible over the helicopter noise. Good. Boy. 3 days. That's how long Matthew and Nora spent in the hospital. 3 days of tests, warming treatments, monitoring. Matthew had 2 cracked ribs, severe hypothermia, and frostbite on 3 fingers. Nora had hypothermia and mild frostbite on her toes. But they were alive. The doctors called it a miracle. 4 hours buried in an avalanche. The survival rate after 2 hours was less than 30%. After 4, almost 0. But they made it, against all odds. And now, finally, they were home. Not the mountain cabin, their real home. Safe, warm, together. Nora sat on the living room floor, her arms wrapped around Bruno. 2 of her friends from school, Emma and Jake, sat across from her, eyes wide with amazement. And then, Nora said, her voice animated, Bruno just started digging, like crazy. His paws were flying, and Mom was digging too with her bare hands, and the snow was so deep, and I couldn't breathe, and... Weren't you scared? Emma interrupted. Nora paused. Yeah, really scared. It was so dark and cold. I thought... She hugged Bruno tighter. I thought I was going to die. Jake leaned forward. So how did Bruno find you? His nose. Dogs can smell through snow. He followed my scent. Nora buried her face in Bruno's fur. He dug me out. Saved my life. Whoa, Jake breathed. And then, Nora continued, we had to find Dad. And Bruno did it again. We gave him Dad's sweater to smell, and he ran right to where Dad was buried and started barking. The rescue team dug him out. Bruno saved both of you? Emma looked at the dog with new respect. Yeah. Nora's voice was soft now. He's not just my dog. He's a hero. From across the room, Matthew and Amanda watched their daughter. Matthew's arm was around his wife, holding her close. A bandage still covered a cut on his forehead. Amanda's ankle was wrapped, propped on the coffee table. But they were smiling, proud, grateful. She's been telling that story to everyone, Amanda whispered. Can you blame her? Matthew grinned. It's a hell of a story. Language. Amanda elbowed him gently. Sorry. He kissed her temple. We got lucky, Amanda. So damn lucky. It wasn't luck. She looked at Bruno. It was him. Bruno's ears perked up at the attention. His tail thumped against the floor. Best dog in the world, Matthew agreed. Nora was still talking. And the helicopter came, and the rescuers were amazing, and Bruno even got to ride in the helicopter with us, and I'm going to write a report about him for school, about search and rescue dogs and how they save lives. Can we meet him properly? Jake asked. Of course. Nora waved them over. Emma and Jake scooted closer. Bruno's tail wagged faster. He loved attention. This is Bruno, Nora announced proudly. Hero, lifesaver, and the best dog anyone could ever ask for. Bruno barked once, as if agreeing. The kids laughed. They petted him, scratched behind his ears, made a fuss. And Bruno, he just sat there, tail wagging, tongue out, looking absolutely delighted. Because to him, it wasn't about being a hero. It wasn't about praise or glory. It was simple. His family had been in danger, and he'd found them. That's what families do. They find each other. They save each other, no matter what.